some acting friends who were like, hey, we've got this cool job where we can go work on the weekends, make cash, and go audition during the week. I'm like, I don't like the sound of that. What is it?
Will I be delivering something?
You're right. Is this legal? And turned out to be a professional clowning operation.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Good for Business podcast. My name is Colin Krieger, and my guest today is Patrick Artigues, local musician, creative, and artist. I'd like to already share this story that I just told several people outside. He is one of the few people who asked to be on the show. And his brother reached out and asked, and I told him, I was like, if you think enough of your brother, am I correct, your brother? Mm-hmm. Thought enough of your brother to get on the show. I've had my brother on the show. Of course, his name's on it. Then you deserve to be on. And it turns out he knows all kind of people I know, and he's super awesome. So welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, this is the least I will know about anyone who's ever been on the show.
Exciting.
I don't think that'll be difficult. So tell me what you do.
So I'm an artist. I make music. I write music. I record, and I perform as a solo artist. I also work as a bartender at Bin 612 to pay my bills. And music is the center of my world, you could say.
Is most of you playing over in Starkville?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. These days, yes.
For the record, he just ran to Jeffrey Rupp outside, who I just finished interviewing, and they had already played a show, and it was interesting because I had talked to Jeffrey about that's my favorite part about music and the arts is the energy it brings to the room. And so how did you get involved in music? Were you a little baby, or when did your origin story start?
So I came up in a big family. I'm the fourth of six, and we were a very sports-centered family. Everyone played sports. There was no musicians in the family, neither of my parents and none of my older siblings, until me and my only sister went and took piano lessons, and I was about 6 years old. And I did that for a couple years, but it kind of fell off. And later down the road, when I was about 13, I picked up the guitar, and I was hooked after that. That was it.
And where were you growing up? Was you around town? Or?
So McComb.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Down south, as they say. As a kid, I'm a New Orleans native, so I've driven by the McComb sign many times.
Right.
I had a couple sandwiches there.
Right.
Actually, I don't know I'm trying to think of the restaurant we went to. But anyway, McComb's not that tiny. It's small.
No, it's small, but it's not tiny, you know. It's smaller than Starkville.
How'd you end up here?
So I was actually living in the Hammond area in Louisiana at the time.
Home of the Strawberry Festival.
Yes.
If anybody would like to bring me strawberries from Hammond Strawberry Festival or the upcoming Tuscaloosa Strawberry Festival,
there we go.
I will take them.
There we go. And I was working for a roofing company out of there, and it was just a real tough job that didn't align with the music route and didn't give me much time outside of work to focus on that. And I was just kind of getting burnt out, and both of my little brothers were at Mississippi State, and actually the brother who reached out to you,
What's his name?
Aaron.
Okay.
Aaron is very persuasive, and he convinced me to move to Starkville and go to East Mississippi to get my associate's degree because I was at that age where they will give you a little money to go do that. Yeah. And so that was in 2022, and so I've been here since then. And now it's just me. Both my little brothers have moved out.
They abandoned you?
That's right.
Where'd they move? Back to McComb? Or?
So Aaron got married a couple years ago to his high school sweetheart, and they moved to Jackson. And then the youngest brother, Sean, he's kind of doing I would say he's doing a little gap year between his last couple semesters, and he's traveling, visiting family. We've got like I said, I'm the fourth of six, and we're all scattered about the states, and he's just kind of taking some time with each sibling and their kids and helping out where he can and getting out into the world a little bit.
It's a good time to do it. So how old are you?
I'm 28.
So you're still in the window of, it should be your whole life of the window. And
sure.
Again, Jeffrey Rupp and I were talking about why adults are asking kids what do they want to do when they grow up. It's because they're looking for ideas, you know. And so we've both had several careers of varying degrees of success. And I champion Braden Sansing, who did a lot of the editing and tech stuff here, just moved out to California. He just got there a couple days ago.
Right. I actually met him a couple weeks ago.
There you go. And I was just like, with his personality, I'm like, you should absolutely go. Like, don't stop. Don't think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Just go. Because if you can, especially if you can pay your bills for a few months and sat there. He's literally the guy who's at the show. Like, I'll help you bring that in. And then he meets so and so, will introduce him to so and so, and he's got a skill set with editing music and playing 5 or 6 instruments that plays right into that.
Absolutely.
So, how long? What's the name? Where are you working again?
Been 612.
So how long have you been there?
Been there. I've been bartending for almost 2 years now, and before that, I was actually a security guard there for about a year and some change.
Are you a professionally trained bartender? Are you flipping bottles and stuff?
I mean, hey, as professional as it gets around Starkville, I guess.
You can make a Negroni without looking at your phone, or?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
I actually had a pretty serious work injury back in February of last year, 25. I fell down some stairs, and I was doing a year of sobriety, so we can't blame it on booze or anything.
Yeah.
But I fell downstairs, dislocated my shoulder, and tore my labrum in 2 places, and had to have surgery on it. And I was in a sling bartending for about 7 months.
Ooh, it
was no fun.
Teaches you some skills not having that second hand there, too.
And considering the demographic of our customers, it's mostly college-age kids. The amount of times, the same people would ask, what happened to your arm? Or, is it difficult bartending with one arm? It's like, no, they just put this on me because I'm too good with 2 arms, so we had to make everybody feel better.
All the jokes.
Right.
It'd be kind of cool to just have something on your phone. I think of that comedian that's on the Kill Tony show, the guy that can't talk, and he's just like,
yes.
And I'm thinking you could have that response, like, it's all gone there. So, talk about the music stuff. When did you start performing live?
So I started performing about 14, 15 years old. I ended up going to a little music school in McComb, which is no longer in existence for very good reasons. But I also spent a lot of time in the church. I was helping run the music in the Catholic church where I grew up at in McComb. I come from a Catholic family. My uncle's actually the deacon over at St. Joseph.
Oh, really?
Jeff Artigues, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. But I started playing in church a lot, and then I actually, through the school that I was at, they had a lot of opportunities to play in Pentecostal churches and a little different scene, a little different music.
Yeah, compared
more
to Catholic
gospel.
church.
Oh, absolutely. And then from there, I actually graduated a year early out of high school at 17, and I moved to New York and was there for 5 years.
New York proper, or where in New York?
And all over the city. I was first I was in Upper West Side for school. Then I went to Spanish Harlem, West Harlem, Bronx in 2 different locations. In Brooklyn, I was in Flatbush and Bed-Stuy, and then I was in 2 locations in Queens. So I was all over the place.
What were you doing up there?
So initially I went for a music and acting school called American Musical and Dramatic Academy. And it's a 4-semester program, so it's, you don't get a degree, you get a certificate. And it's like a music and acting intensive, so there's no, math or curriculum-based classes. And after that, I just started working jobs, whatever I could. I started working as a doorman right by the Plaza Hotel at a suit store. And I actually was able to make a connection through one of my coworkers who has a good friend who he grew up with who is a songwriter and gets a lot of studio time in some really good studios. And I was able to go and help them do some like workshop kind of songwriting.
All right. So you're in New York. You're making connections, which is, we were just talking about Braden Sansing going out to California and how you're going to make connections.
Oh, yeah.
All 3 people I've interviewed today have said the same thing. Like, you never know when you meet the guy who's social media for Vince Gill. Jeffrey Rupp's daughter just does that. And like, you never know when you're going to run into that. So you were in New York making connections. Were you playing music there?
I was. There was a brief time in between being in acting and music school and playing music that I wasn't for a good while there. I was just working and trying to find, different sources of income, but also different avenues of creative energy and whatnot. But I actually used some of those acting and film and theater classes and structure to help run a film festival for a little while, the Queens World Film Festival. And I say I was helping them run it, but unfortunately we never got to actually run the festival because that was right when COVID happened. Yes.
Oh, okay. So I was up in New York at the end of, for COVID in New York, really the hard exit was the end of 2021. Were you up there then or no?
No, so I left, I want to say it was early 2020 because it was like right whenever.
Well, New York, by the way, again, this happened on another episode of somebody who's in California, but like New York shut down.
Yes.
So in 2021 was they were still doing mobile testing, but they were ramping down around Thanksgiving. Me and my family went up there. One of my kids, we had to get tested before every theater we went into. It was crazy. And 2 days after we left, they locked the city down. Like they locked, you stayed in your hotel and couldn't leave.
Wow.
And I was just like, so they took it a little more seriously.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, it just destroyed anybody.
Trying to make a living for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had front row tickets to all the Broadway shows, which was great, but nobody was happy.
Right.
They had like one person selling drinks and food because there's nobody there. So.
And I was actually working for the film festival whenever COVID broke out, and I was in Los Angeles, and I was running a little presser event to get all of the filmmakers and directors all kind of, excited and ready for the festival in New York. And on my flight home, on my connecting flight, my phone blows up and it's like everything is canceled. All professional sports, we're going to shut down international travel. I'm like, what is going on? I get home and I'm like, I feel sick. And that was the time when I was living in Queens at the time, and the closest hospital was Elmhurst Hospital, which I don't know if anyone remembers, but that was the hospital that had all of the footage of them bringing the bodies to the street because they didn't have anywhere to put it. And so in my head, I'm like, I'm not going to go to the doctor. I'm just going to wait this out. And I mean, it was about a month of being sick, and I was like, what do I do? And I was just kind of boarded up in my place. Obviously, the festival shut down.
Did your rent get suspended? I know New York did that for a while. Okay.
Did not get suspended.
I know in like Manhattan and upper, in the city. My wife's born in Long Island, so I have a little. When I say the city, I mean the city. Like my daughter's boyfriend's from New York, and he's like from up near Poughkeepsie or Buffalo. I'm like, you're not supposed to say New York. He's like, it's a state. I'm like, no.
You say upstate New York.
Yeah. I was like, I know where you're from. Now he was very useful in this recent ice storm, but other than that, I get to meet him this weekend, so we'll see how he is.
What part of Long Island is your wife from?
You're gonna have to remind me. Exits. So she only lived up there a couple of years, and then she lived in Louisiana. So it's past Islip. You'll have to remind me of when her. When the best part is when her mom's Iowa farm girl, and her second husband, Dennis, who's passed away, was a New York Jets fan from Long Island, and he had only been to the city like 4 times, and he came here and he had slick back gray hair and the big glasses, everything you think, and he's here like a week. God bless his late soul. He's here like a week. I go into Kroger, and I turn the corner at Kroger, and he's exactly what you think. He's leaned up on a counter, busting chops. Like, she's going to put a finger on the fucking scale, blah, blah, blah. And the lady's like, oh, Mr. Dennis. I'm like, how's he Mr. Dennis? He's been here 3 days. But he was running the show, you know what I mean?
That's funny.
It's just he's that guy. Like, when I say a Jets fan to people who lived in New York, they're like, 65-year-old Jets fan, like, kind of looks like a mobster,
That's funny. So I actually worked in Long Island for 3 years. After I was working at the suit store, I had some acting friends who were like, hey, we've got this cool job where we can go work on the weekends, make cash, and then go audition during the week. I'm like, I don't like the sound of that. What is it?
Will I be delivering something?
You're right. Is this legal? And turned out to be a professional clowning operation, clowns.com. And the friend who referred me, funny enough, he didn't make it to his first job there. They have a very strict policy where if like you show up late, you're done. Like we can't have that because we've got, parties that are booked.
To scramble, yeah. Right. It's not like filling it up. If your waitress doesn't show up, you get another waitress, but it's not 2 hours away and kids aren't crying. So,
but it was, it's like what you would imagine a shady clowning business to be. I took the Long Island Railroad for the first time.
I've been on it, yeah.
Out to Elmont is where it's stationed at, which is right near the Belmont Stakes. Elmont near Belmont, right? Because why wouldn't
save
you?
money on signage?
Right.
Yeah.
But I missed my stop, and so I ended up going to like Babylon or something like that, like far, very far. And the owner of the company drives out to pick me up, and I'm out there. There's nobody there because nobody goes that far out in Long Island, and I see this black Escalade pull up, and I'm like, surely not for the clown business. Guy rolls down the window. He's got the slick back hair, just like you're saying. He's got like, the taco meat on his chest showing with the buttons down and chains and a Rolex on. I'm like, no shot this is the guy. He's like, hey, I'm the owner of the clowns. Like, come hop in.
Is his name Tony?
His name was George. Yeah. But his birth name was something different. I believe it was Adolf. But he changed his name to George, and we had the interview just on the drive to the operation. He just asked me a few questions, yada, yada, yada. And we show up to a warehouse, and there's 24 other young adults there. And we're all learning how to make balloon animals, twist the cotton candy, and their little magic show. And then the girls are learning how to face paint. And we did that maybe twice, like trained. And then it was like, all right, go out, go perform, entertain, and make kids happy. And at first it was just like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever done, because we're going house to house, venue to venue. We would have days where I would go to the penthouse of a Trump Tower, and then directly after that, we'd drive to a homeless shelter. So it was a great way to see, a whole lot of different cultures and environments in the tri-state area, because we would travel from, I've made it to Connecticut once, down to Staten Island, Jersey, obviously all of Long Island and all of the boroughs. But I would have to drive as well. So they would like give us a schedule, and it'd be like, you've got 5 parties this Saturday. And yeah, it's like, you've got 30 minutes to get from the Bronx to the bottom, like Sheepshead Bay in Brooklyn, which is just like, you could maybe do that if you had like a teleportation device, but that's it. Right. A helicopter would maybe do it.
That's what we liked when we went during, because it was supposed to be that COVID was done, and there was a flare up right before Thanksgiving. We went right after, and we're in New York for 10 days. We were blessed. But like, because of that, nobody was there.
Yeah.
And like, it wasn't, they really thought COVID was done. And so like, everybody in New York's like, the wealthy people were like, well, I'm not doing crap because I know they're going to shut everything down again.
Right.
We had this 5-day window where like they were like, it's probably going to close down Monday. It's probably, I'm like, man, if we get trapped here.
Yeah.
And they told us they gave 24-hour notice while we were at the hospital. But it was awesome because there was transportation was everything.
What time of year was it when y'all went?
It was the week after, the first week of December.
Okay.
So
okay.
2020, I guess it was 2021.
That is normally a pretty busy time of year for sure.
Yeah, it's Christmas. So we went for Christmas. And so.
I always like to say, if you want to go to New York and not see people, just go this time of year in like late January, early February, because nobody is in New York at that time. It gets so brutally cold. I've walked down Times Square at like 2 a.m. after a studio session, and it's 46 and
with the wind with the buildings
wind
is just
gets
insane.
Brutal, so. And the only people you see are trying to sell you any type of drugs they have.
Yeah, that what my kids, their main formative memory of that is how it smelled like weed, because it was the peak of the trucks selling weed and stuff like that.
Yes, that was a thing in New Orleans for a while too, but that stuff always sketched me out, like the halal truck selling 1/8 of weed to you. Like, wait, what?
There's a guy, well-known guy in town here who went away for he sold crawfish and stuff. And when he moved here from Louisiana, he originally from here. When he moved back, he was 22 and he had a 16-year-old bride with 2 kids. And like the parents had Cajun culture. It was fine. And then he helped out with a bunch of fundraisers I have, and people
but it's fine.
People would be kind of critical of him or whatever, and then he finally went away, and they're like, I guess you learned your lesson. I'm like, first of all, he's the only guy who would do it for free.
Yeah.
And second of all, I don't think I require or think that much of my roadside seafood guy.
Right.
The roadside seafood guy who drives all night long to make $100 selling crawfish on the side of the highway, like, he probably should have a record.
Right.
Even the police chief, when he got to know him, he's like, he's got a record. I'm like, makes good crawfish. I mean, like, what do you think of the guy, Of course, the dude who's got the, the food cart is selling weed is going to be a little sketchy.
Sure. Yeah.
You kind of hope he is. You know?
Right.
I mean, just like the guy running the online clown college is going to be, you have to be a questionable moral character.
Right. And there was definitely all sorts of stuff that went on at the clown operation that kind of made you raise your eyebrows. Like, is this kosher? Does this make sense? But
I was worried about your first meeting when you said there's a bunch of young people in a warehouse or whatever like this, and he starts running the cameras and be like,
right.
Hey, you look cute. Just take your shirt off.
Yeah. There's definitely all sorts of vulnerabilities in big cities like that. But yeah, no, it was nothing like that for sure. But
what was your clown name?
So there was a bunch of people. Most people went by silly names like Bobo or Sprinkles, but my shtick was I'm Pat the Clown. Like, I'm gonna show up to your house, and because the main thing was like, we called ourselves clowns.com. We called it a clown package, but you would see us get there and you'd be like, that's not a clown. We didn't have any face paint. We didn't have any type of like wigs or anything. We had like a fun rainbow outfit with like fake suspenders and a bow tie, and I wore a baseball hat. And like, we did fun things for the kids and stuff, and like, it was a cool package. And if you knew what you're doing, you could kind of curate for whatever the party needed and give it what it needs. But for me, it was like, what's the point in trying to like pretend I'm a circus clown when I'm not? Like, I'm just a party hype man. So I'm Pat the Clown. We're here to have a good time, and I know that, Mom's going to be the one that needs to know everything that's going on, make sure she's got her camera out when it's the important moments. And
I think that's, what was it? There's an old Seinfeld episode before your time where it's actually, who's Iron Man's assistant? He's a director. He directed Elf. Who's Swingers, big independent movie too. Jon Favreau. So Jon Favreau is the clown in this like mid-90s version of Seinfeld, and his name's Eric the Clown. And like the one of the characters is like, why Eric? What kind of name is that? He's like, what do you freaking know? And he's like, what about Bozo? He's like, I've never heard of Bozo. He's like, you've never heard of Bozo? He's like, I'm Eric the Clown. Yeah. He goes, you're talking about some clown from the 60s, man. Get over it. I'm like, and then it turned out to be Jon Favreau, who directed Iron Man and many other movies. So
that's funny.
Ground-changing thing. But, so learned some valuable life lessons living in New York. I mean, that ain't McComb, Mississippi.
Oh, yeah. I was 17 when I moved there and 22 when I moved away. And I think that's a good idea.
20 years of life to get through it.
Right.
It's something else. People don't understand, like, if you've ever driven it, you probably understand. But Washington, D.C. to Boston is one megalopolis. It's just city, 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 a little break in New Jersey, city, 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 a little break after New York. But, like, Long Island, if you come from Manhattan, you take the Long Island Expressway or the Long Island the train. You go from big buildings everywhere to middle beat-up brown buildings to, like, there aren't even, like, 5-story buildings. It's just houses and crap.
Oh, yeah. I like to say if you go far enough in Long Island, you make it to Mississippi.
Yeah, it's just because, like, when I'm in New York or even now Atlanta, I've told my kids, I'm in a hotel, I'm like, that's $1 billion of stuff we can see that human beings got together and built, that probably independent people built a LLC and did it, not some giant corporation. That's how I feel in New York. But they were really more overwhelmed by, like, they like the historical part. But again, the weed thing, they bring it up all the time. They're like, dude, it just reeked of weed. And New Orleans is the same way, weed and homeless people. They've been there a lot because I'm from there. So.
Sure. Yeah, I remember my first time going to Jazz Fest. I was like, 12, 13 years old. And my dad, he's not somebody that would smoke weed or anything like that. But we were there, and he's like, you smell that? That's marijuana. Okay, Dad.
Jazz Fest I went to every year from 1991 until Katrina, so 2004. And I went every year and every day till 2000.
Wow.
And then I literally just got older, and I was like, this is hot. And it got bigger. So in the early 2000s, they had Fish and Widespread Panic each every other year for 2 years. And it really, some of those kids never left.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then at that time, Galactic, which is a big band, I know some people in there got same thing. They felt big to me, like they were there. And I'm like, then in 95, I knew who they were. And then they came back in like 99 and 2000, and like they were huge. I'm like, what happened? Like I went to a show, and I'm like, Stanton Moore, the drummer, I'm like, when did y'all get popular? I'm like, by the way, I read an article where y'all are from San Francisco. He's like, because like being from New Orleans, you get pigeonholes jazz, and two of the guys are from the West Coast. But like Rolling Stone article said San Francisco-based band. I'm like, and now they own Tipitina's in New Orleans. Like, it's so obvious they're a New Orleans band, but that used to be a thing. You'd be kind of pigeonholed, like, oh, you're a New Orleans band or a Mississippi band or whatever. Right. So you made a living. Were you trying to do any theater and acting stuff too, or mainly just music?
So definitely realized that music was where I was wanting to move my life and my career towards. I always wanted to find a way to kind of marry the two and use the skills that I've garnered with acting and theater and apply that to the music, or find ways to at least make connections and get work. But I did a couple things with the acting. I helped produce a pilot for a TV show that my friend was doing. They were trying to pitch to some bigger, like Amazon, Netflix, or whatnot. But they actually ended up using that pilot to get other jobs, and he started his own production company and moved out to L.A. And one of the guys who was starring in the pilot that they were trying to make into a show hit it off real big with soap operas. And so now he's like a soap star. So they kind of shifted gears from there, but it was a really cool experience, and it gave me all sorts of different insight and, life and work experience. And I was doing everything from holding the boom to helping schedule shoots and, getting people from point A to point B and paid and whatnot for the people that were paid.
Well, like theater, theater for sure in California and New York are usually better than music. Some people think it stifles their creativity, but you're getting paid because there's a lot of union jobs and stuff. Right. And that's one of I have a lot of friends in the theater now. I've started doing theater locally here, and that's something we've discussed with kids who are like, I'm going to go do this. And I'm like, part of the reason the studio system is collapsing, or as Matt Damon and Ben Affleck have been criticizing Netflix and all these other places for not making dramatic movies, well, part of it is that it's union people. And you're paying a camera person $160 an hour, and the iPhone's not that much more discernible considered 60%, and it sucks. And I'm like, but I think that's where the AI and other stuff's going to interfere in that. So what was your impetus to move away from New York, other than the overwhelming pressure of paying $2,000 a month to live in a shack?
It was COVID.
Did you live in a shack?
No, I didn't live in a shack. I did actually live in a shack at a couple places, but the last place that I put my coat on at is in Jackson Heights, and that was, I found one of the best places to get bang for your buck in terms of actually having some square footage and, a little space and a little more quiet than the. By
the way, in one of the most walkable towns, and this transportation is a piece of cake in New York if you're just a little patient, and you don't really need to plan ahead because their buses are running 20 hours a day. Until COVID, it was a great idea. By the way, as a realtor, I'm a realtor with Remax Partners in Starkville and Columbus. I'd love never too busy to buy or sell a house with you. All the small house crap went out of the window during COVID because, people living in small houses, statistically, divorce rates went through the roof, breakups because, you couldn't go to the park because, when you're in New York, you can go to the park, you can go to the gym, you can do all these, you go to the Y, do all these things. It's all there, so you didn't really need a backyard.
Right.
You didn't need a thing. You need a little grill on your porch if you're lucky. You didn't want to share a shower, but other than that, you could live in 400 square feet.
Right.
That's how my wife and I, we first started dating, lived in a 320 square foot guest house. That's nothing. I had a washer in the yard hooked up to a hose, because I didn't know the wash head or whatever. But we had a bedroom and a room. That was it.
Yeah.
And we were fine because you're in New Orleans. There's parks everywhere. You could take buses and stuff like that. But when that goes away, it's not quite as cool.
It gets tough. Yeah.
And I had friends who were big into that in New Orleans and a couple in New York who were who weren't internet people. And they're I had to get, the hardest part for them was waiting 3 weeks for the cell phone company to open because they were I had a flip. They still had, old school phones. And I want to look online because I'm bored to death. And they couldn't go to the library. So even if they were hardcore anti-internet, they couldn't go to the library.
Right.
Yeah, and that's, again, one of the, I talk about, I'm the real estate agent for this Parkview development in downtown Columbus, and the biggest thing we talk about the development is the amenity is downtown. There's a river walk, and you can go fishing, and there's a soccer field, and there's a playground, and there's gyms, and there's restaurants, and again, if you don't have access to all that, at my house, COVID shut down, they told real estate agents they couldn't work for 3 weeks. And first thing, my wife, one of the greatest decisions of our marriage, it's up there with having 2 of our 3 kids, maybe ahead of a 3rd kid, you know who you are, was ordering an above-ground cocktail pool. And she got a 15-foot wide cocktail pool, which is exactly how big our space was, like in our side yard. Wow. And the second best idea she had, too, was Zachary selling daiquiris. And so we sat there and probably each gained 15 pounds just drinking daiquiris in great weather. It was like in April, and we're just sitting here. You can't do any work. I couldn't answer the phone. We're just sitting there. We hooked the TV up, and we just sat in our cocktail pool. I was dark and tan by the end of that 4 weeks. I looked like a different man. So
That's too funny.
All right, so you escaped New York, and where do you head next?
Had to get out of there. There was no way to pay the bills, and it was just looking a little too grim and gray for my liking. So, yeah, I went back home, and I had
Just during COVID or before? Or?
This is right in the middle of COVID. Right whenever I was, feeling healthy enough, able to pass a test and hop on a plane, I was able to take 2 bags with me, and then everything else I had to leave. All my, lots of clothes, TV, bed, furniture, gone. Because I couldn't rent a car at that time. Yeah. No U-Hauls, no nothing. Everything was either used up or not available. And then I moved back down to my hometown of McComb, and I was there for a year and some change. And I worked with a gentleman who became a friend of mine. His name is John Chisholm, and I've never met anyone that is so just capable of doing anything, like mechanic work, HVAC, construction, music. Like, he's a great guitarist. He literally just will go flip houses, like big houses, and spend half a year really doing it up and then sell it and make his money for the year. But he had a little HVAC and construction company that me and my little brothers joined forces with him because he was actually hired to create my mom's little therapy studio, or office, I guess you should say. And so, yeah, we did that for a little while. Had the opportunity to actually renovate the house that my mom's dad, my grandfather, was born in the early 30s in McComb, Mississippi. That was a really cool experience. And then from there, I did a bunch of different stuff. Worked for a cabinet shop out of McComb. I did some landscaping, and then I went to the roofing company from there. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And what was your first gig when you came up to Starkville playing? Or did you have to force yourself into an open mic, or what did you do?
I want to say I did open mic a couple times at Dave's. But my boss, my manager, Jacob Gordon, he's friends with Dave, and he introduced me to Dave, and Dave and I became friends. And so then he started booking me to play there, and I've played most of my gigs at Dave's. I've played a few at the Bin. I've done one at the Landing. I've played at Rick's a couple times. Actually going to play at Rick's this upcoming Tuesday, the 10th, which is also the day that my next single is going to be released.
Oh, okay.
So we get a little 2 birds on stone that day.
Well, there you go. I don't know if we'll have it edited by then, but we'll get you need to send me if you have an album.
Hey, that's fine.
Is there an album cover or a link you'll be able to send me for it?
Oh, for sure. And it might even be better if all this gets edited after the fact, because that way people can just immediately go to it,
Yeah.
You can tell people that, hey, my music's going to come out tomorrow, but most people forget.
So I help out with a lot of fundraisers and stuff in town, and we tell people all the time, like, you can buy your raffle tickets ahead of time until that day. No, but it's like 80% of people wait till that day. Yeah. Because again, you can't do it. You're like, I want it to be real and tangible and stuff. So, what kind of music is it?
So it's indie rock. I've played all sorts of different genres and written different genres and whatnot. I was actually signed to a gospel music label for couple years, and that was more so I could stay active and continue making music and meeting other like-minded musicians, and not so much that I was like, I really want to do gospel music, or like this is where I see myself moving towards, but it was a really cool experience all the same. But this music is a interesting collection of songs that I've written from my high school years to, I wrote one of the songs the night before I flew up to New York to record it. And that was actually the only time I've been back to New York since I moved away, was to go and record this EP. And I was able to make all this happen by actually using the same connection that I had when I was at the suit store and I was writing music at those studios. This gentleman's name's Cannon Mapp. Amazing guy, very talented, very friendly, very positive, and just full of life. But he put me in contact with 3 different producers, or rather he told me of 3 different producers that he wanted me to look into and research and see what would potentially be a good fit. And the producer that we ended up going with is Robin Byer, and he is also super kind, infinitely talented, and able. And I actually had a track that my youngest brother, Sean, helped me record in our home in Starkville. And, we did the best we could with what we had. And I think it turned out to be fairly good. But it was a lot more work for Robin to produce it than if we would have gone up there and recorded. Yeah. But the track, ended up sounding really good. You can stream it right now. It's called Somewhere, Patrick Artigues on all platforms. But after we got done with that project, that song, he was like, hey, why don't you send like some of the stuff you've been working on, and we can maybe see if there's, something to be done, or if nothing else, I can give some pointers, some notes. And so we sent him a bunch of stuff, a bunch of demos that we kind of recorded in the home, just so we could have like a, here's what we're working on. And he's like, hey, man, like, I see some potential in a lot of these tracks. Like, I would really love to, like, carve out a week or 5 days to get you up here to New York and hire some musicians, get some good studio space, and punch out a little album or EP. I'm like, that sounds amazing. And he even helped me budget it all, and he found all the musicians for me.
What instruments do you play?
So I play piano and guitar. And I actually did lay all the acoustic tracks on the EP, but I didn't play any of the keys. I hired somebody to do that. His name's Utsav Lal, and very, very good idea to hire him. He was amazing to work with, very talented, just added so much to the whole experience. Really, everyone did. It was a once-in-a-lifetime type of experience.
A producer is almost like a coach for other people, or business coach or something like that, or even a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
They're hearing things from you and about you that you'd never, ever get out on your own.
Absolutely.
Not just criticism, but somebody who actually, has some vision. And, of course, talk like studio musicians like Braden, who just left town on us again and moved to California. Braden can play every instrument. So I've talked to people who were just like, it's so much better if I just go in there and play my guitar rather than let him do the rest Sometimes it is, but it really depends, especially for me. Like, I play so much solo music, just one-man shows, that the way that I play is not super conducive to a studio album, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like, I had to get coached by Robin to tone down what I'm doing. Like, he's like, you have to remember, you have other instruments that are going to be giving you're putting on a show.
Yeah. I'm trying to fill the space. I'm trying to do too much. I'm trying to use my guitar to do everything, essentially, that's all the rhythms, and it just turns into a mess when you're trying to record in the studio. And that's not to say that, like, there aren't people who can't lay their own instruments and stuff, but there are times, especially when there's certain tracks, certain things you're trying to accomplish within the feel and the vibe of the music, that I think it is beneficial to get other people in on it. There's a documentary of Steely Dan. I want to say it's about them creating the album Asia. I can't remember if that was the album or not, but regardless, there's a song, just one song, where they hired something like 35 guitarists to come in and lay this one like 15-second solo, and they ended up going with like the 4th guitarist. But it just goes to show that, like, if you have the ability to play with stuff and experiment and try to find different sounds, like, do it. Might as well. Those guys had access to all those musicians, the studio space. They're like, we live in this studio. We're just going to play with it as much as we can until we get exactly what we want. Obviously, budget can sometimes, as an independent artist, kind of restrict how much playroom you have, how much wiggle room. But I don't think that I would have been able to accomplish what we accomplished if I didn't get those guys in on it. Yeah. And there was one guy who we hired to play some some slide guitar, some lap steel. And, none of these guys I ever met until I went up there. This guy's like 24 years old and steps in, hasn't even heard the tracks, listens to the tracks, like, great. Lays 5 tracks in like 2 hours, and it's just phenomenal. I couldn't believe what I was listening to. I'm like, this guy's 24 years old playing like this? Crazy. And he actually recently just got hired to play on a Daniel Caesar track, and Daniel Caesar's a really big artist. So he's doing well for himself.
Yeah, I met somebody the other day who plays, he's a touring drummer. I think it's Tammy Wynette or something like that. And like, I know a couple people in New Orleans who like have Grammys that I grew up with who like, still to me, it doesn't make sense. I'm like, mainly brass band trumpet players, but the guy named Johnny Vodakovich is a piano player down there. And like, I've talked to John Cleary, who's a big musician down there, and other people, and they have been so deferential to him. And they're like, he can play every kind of piano. I'm like, you're talking Marsha Ball, who does Zydeco Cajun and New Orleans music, who I consider a world-class piano player. And like, they have a thing called Piano Night in between the 2 weekends of Jazz Fest. It's a fundraiser for WWOZ, which is the big jazz station down there, or New Orleans music station. And like, so we went one night, and it was Alan Toussaint, who's passed away, is amazing world-class piano player. And Dr. John played too, and then Marsha Ball and Vodakovich was like the first guy up.
Toussaint wrote Southern Nights, right?
Yeah. He's got like 30 Grammys.
Right.
You want to hear now? My wife will hate me again for telling a story, but so I'd been to more than 1,000 concerts in my New Orleans. My dad was an American class tenor. Like he sang at Lafitte's Blacksmith Shop and stuff like that. So growing up, like that's where I went. And I worked in restaurants in the quarter, so I went everywhere I could to see stuff. And so I took her to piano night. It was like the 4th one. Now they're on their 25th or something. And we were just dating. And so I took her to thing. And what happened was that lineup, and they'd play by themselves and then come play with a house band. And so Alan Toussaint's walking across the crowd or whatever, hey, like that, and he's not getting mobbed because it's a respectful piano crowd or whatever. And I'm like, hey, how you doing? I was like, Colin Krieger. He's like, Bushy. He knew who my dad was, and he's like, you look just like him. You look just like him. I'm like, I was like, this is my fiance Desiree. It's her birthday tonight. And he went like this. He put his hand over her hand. He's like, Desiree, birthday. I'm like, this motherfucker's gonna sing her happy birthday because all those guys worked up growing in a time where like. If you play somebody's birthday, you get a $20 tip.
Right.
Well, I mean, he's got like 30 Grammys. Like, I know who he is. So he goes to play his set with himself. Like, they have the band over there, and they take a break while he's doing that. Dr. John's getting ready over there. And on the way out, he's like, I'm just going to sing. Everybody sing a little happy birthday for my friend Desiree. And there's like 300 people there, but she's just like, must be another Desiree. I'm like, and I remember telling her, I'm like, every granola hipster girl that I would have had would have melted.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, that's nice. I'm like, when we go home, you couldn't even Google back then. I'm like, when we go home, I'm going to explain to you exactly what just happened.
Right.
Quite possibly one of the most revered piano players in the history of the 20th century just sang you happy birthday.
Yeah.
And you were like, that's cool. I'm like, no. She's like, what's the equivalent? This was like 2003. I'm like, Dave Matthews singing you happy birthday?
Yeah.
At a 200-seat venue? I'm like, really, that's how big it is for these people there. And so anyway, but they were talking about how, like, not Alan Toussaint, but Marsha Ball, she's close to him. Like, she's a world-class performer, and she's like, Johnny's just amazing. And I'm thinking, like, to me, it sounds the same. Like, she's bigger than him, but he's a studio piano player, and they're like, they send him all over the world because he doesn't waste. A lot of the time, it's not wasting time.
Yeah.
Like the studio musicians who get paid by the job and not by the hour, who are like, oh, I get it. I get what you're trying to do.
Right.
Which
it's super important because
that's what
they're getting paid by the job, but the studio's charging by the hour.
Yeah, and and that's where like the producers are effective. From what I've heard from my friends, where they're just like, Chase McGill is a songwriter from here. I've talked to his dad. He's Music Row 3 years in a row, top 10 songwriters from Columbus, Mississippi, and it's country music and stuff. And that's what they talk about is efficiency. Not on the songwriting side, you take forever.
Right.
But on actual production and stuff, like, the studio costs money. The musicians are usually getting paid. They'll be there. It's the album, points on the album, and then 5 days, but you don't get it. So the guys get more money because they're in and out. And the producer and the engineer is supposed to be in the way of the artist going, that's not my sound. I'd like you to do something different. They're like, I think the phrase I heard from the Vodakovich guy was like, he's like, 80% of people, I know exactly what you're doing. Like, yes, you're not You're not Aerosmith and you're not Primus. You're not the Strokes. I know,
My name is Mud.
Yeah, but he's like, I know exactly what you're trying to do here.
Right.
You don't, especially in New Orleans and jazz, and blues, there's so many almost like tropes or things that they do every time that there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
But it's like, okay.
Right.
I can drop my pinky or do it. I'm not a musician at all. I've started the last couple of years. I've told this story like 4 times, but my dad was a really, really good singer. Got paid to do it. And, but, when they have that line when, hey, why do you drink so much? Well, my dad was a really bad alcoholic. Or, why don't you drink? And you're like, well, my dad was a really bad alcoholic. So my brother sang his ass off. Yeah. And I was scared to. Because we'd go to
intimidated.
We'd go to operas, and my dad would be like, "That tenor was a little weak," and he meant it. Like he sang with Domingo a couple times, and I'm like, "All right, well, like he knows what." So like I would never ever sing, and now I'm doing theater stuff with the theater here, and I'm taking voice lessons and loving it. So I'm starting to be around more people once, and no real regret that I didn't do it before. But now I just want to. That's all I want to do is sing.
It's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's fun
in its own way. That's kind of a beautiful thing because it's like that's the biggest thing with music is nurturing the balance of the fun and enjoyment of it, and then also the being rigorous and being efficient and actually working while doing it. And it's so easy to lose sight of like, oh, yeah, I'm doing this because I love it. And so sometimes for some people, it's better to start, artistic things maybe a little bit later so that way they have a little better perspective or at least they're not burnt out on it.
Yeah. Well, we quickly went through that discussion with Jeffrey Rupp out front about energy.
Yeah.
I was like, we were talking about playing shows and I'm talking about the theater. Like, I can't go to bed when I leave because I was dancing just because, especially the college kids. We have a lot of Mississippi State kids in the Golden Triangle Theater here. And I just get pumped up. They're just everybody's just telling everybody how awesome they are. And I'm like, this is great, so I'm addicted to that part of it, and the stage part is okay. I'm very fortunate that I have no stage fright or nerves. The only thing I'm nervous about is like messing up a note because they're in every respect better than me. Like I'm pretty good at the acting part of it, but like on the singing, like there's always 4 or 5 kids in the cast who are like, some of them are going to Chicago and doing performances and stuff. But that's something I don't know how many parents at the theater could possibly dislike me, but I am telling every college student there, like, go to New York, go to LA. Yeah. You're young, go for it. Like, please, especially with our wonderful and powerful AI overlords. I really think creatives are going to have the best of it. Yeah,
I honestly feel the same way. A lot of people have asked me, like, oh, are you worried about, AI hopping in the music industry and songwriting? I'm like, listen, what AI is a collection of all the things that humans have done, and it curates it to try and find the best version of it, right? So it can't make anything new.
The most popular version.
Yes.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with pop. Like I always tell people about pop music, I was like, there's a certain respect of pop music that you learn to like anything you listen to all the time. For the same reason that people had to shut off their minds when they were in concentration camps and learn how to get through it. I'm not comparing Katy Perry to being in a concentration camp, but you can hear things enough that it just becomes part of your lifestyle and part of you just hear the music enough. That's part of your thing. You're only limited to what new music, I can only listen to Jason Isbell's top 100 songs before I realize I'm listening to too much Jason Isbell right now. And I don't
saw him at Jazz Fest too.
Oh my God. We saw him. I took my daughter, we were going down to New Orleans for something else, and like 2 days before, I happened to notice who's our big country star? Zach Bryan, who plays stadiums. He's playing in Starkville? Is that it?
I'm
Pink
sure.
Skies or whatever?
Oh, you're talking about Hardy out of?
No, it wasn't Hardy. Okay, I think it was Zach Bryan. But Jason Isbell opened for him, and he spent the first minute on stage going. It was at the Superdome, and he's like, I don't know. Jason Isbell is doing opening for anybody,
right?
And he's like, we're playing, and Jason Isbell's like, this is the biggest show I've ever played outside of a festival. And dude, the Zach Bryan guy killed it. He's one of those guys like I didn't know how many songs were big hits,
right?
That I'd heard in the back, but I'd heard in the background. He killed it. Like he's a performer, and I realized sometimes there's people who are like, I think Katy Perry's a victim of it. Her performance gets criticized a lot, whereas Taylor Swift is like spotless on her show. But Jason Isbell just I think it was he's had 2 tweets that he's ever liked that I posted, and he was on stage there, and I was like, it looks like it pains Jason Isbell to not be playing live. Like, you know what I mean? Like when he left, he's like goodbye, and you could just see like that guy has to play live music.
The main thing I got from him when I saw him and listened to him play is he just has such a genuine and like authentic presence and vibe about him. Like, it means a lot to him, and you can tell.
Yeah.
Plenty of people who have found success in that industry, you can tell that it's lost its flair, or
Yeah, I've seen
through the motions.
not in recent years, but I was a big Aerosmith fan in the 80s and loved all their old stuff. And there was a point in the mid 90s where they were literally like, they weren't drugged up, might have been the problem.
Yeah,
But like it's easy for them to mail it in because they're so skilled and done it so many times. And the difference between Steven Tyler rock and roll and being lead singer, between him just going,
yeah,
it's easy not to tell, but I would be like, this isn't that fun. You know what I mean?
And yeah, and I can imagine that's a common, hurdle to kind of get past, especially considering how rigorous and tough touring life is.
Well,
I've never toured, but I've heard the stories of like you are in a bus with these people. There's no privacy. You're driving from one venue to the other, like
you don't
right
see
after
the
you're
cities,
done. Yeah, like you hop
and
in the bus.
anything can become boring.
Mm-hmm.
I've asked the guys at the Golden Triangle Theater and Starkville. I was like, because the Starkville Theater has to do like 5 shows instead of 3 because it's a much smaller theater. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, and they've said the same thing. They're like, once you get past 3 shows with amateurs, it gets tough because it's work. Mm-hmm. And we're not training them to be at work. We're training, this is going to be fun. The first night, we're going to fix our mistakes. Second, it's going to be fun. Second night's going to be good. The third night's going to be locked in. And it's awesome. And you start getting a 4th and 5th, and you really do need professional people. And that,
especially
anything can become boring. For God's sakes, the dude from Maroon 5 was married to one model and cheated on her with another model. Like, you know what I mean?
That's classic celebrity culture.
Yeah, but
there.
just anything. I guess anything you can get used to. Just like concentration camps, you can get used to anything. But like, I mean, I can see how you go on music and go on a tour and you're just making a living. And I thought this was interesting to me. So the Avent Brothers played in...
I saw them at Jazz Fest.
Okay, so I saw them. That's how I got turned on to them a long time ago.
Love the Avent
And
Brothers.
Emotionalism,
top 3 album all time.
Just unbelievable. Just love it. My kids know it's the soundtrack of their lives. They at least put up with it or pretend to enjoy it. They played at Oxford at the beginning of the school year. My daughter started going up there. We got tickets, and the crowd was much more like me. I thought it'd be oversold because college kids would go to it. Well, they're kind of past college kids.
Sure, yeah.
I didn't think that. Well, my buddy runs the arts council there, and I was like, man, this is bad. They're like, they're really happy with the crowd. It's $75,000 well invested. I'm like, that's all they got? Like, in my mind, I understand structures. I've tried to help with Market Street here, get bands. I'm like, I figured they were still a $150,000-$200,000 band, and it's $75,000 for like, I mean, there's 6 people in the band, and they didn't have exorbitant lights, but they had 3 buses, and I'm thinking like, the drummer probably made $7,000 a night, and that didn't, to me, the only show that week didn't, they're not in the middle of a big tour, so the efficiencies aren't that good, and their show, they had a period about 5 years ago after I know Rick Rubin produced an album, and it was incredibly sound album. Everything was tight on it, great, they finally had some hits. But, like, they got down to where they were playing an hour and 15 minutes. And I'm like, what happened to my 2.5-hour Avent Brothers show? And everything I've read, they did it there. It was 2 hours and 15 minutes. They just walked out in the crowd. They're so tight. They're so awesome. Good. And, like, they played 2 songs I didn't know, and they were perfect. And they've got their niche. I just kind of thought, like, I was like, man, they're making more money than that, once I figured in 3 buses and stuff. But,
it's always hard to kind of tell, especially depending on if you're signed to a label, if you're independent, how well do you keep up with your finances? How well are you claiming all of your royalties? And the further I get into the business and logistics side of music, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like having a firm.
Well, I think, and like they had a blessing that they have had 2 kind of big pops, They popped, and 8 years later they had another one, so they're probably out of their original. And I think their friend who owned a bar did their original contract and stuff. I saw part of a documentary on that where they were like, yeah, this guy in Charlottesville or whatever, he just gave us the money to do it, and then so they've gotten bigger and probably were more aware of it. But a lot of the problem with the streaming stuff is that there's 10 other people own it with you.
Yeah.
Right? Like Spotify, it's not that they pay crap, it's just they pay crap. They're paying 10 people above you if you have a studio contract.
Yes, if you're signed. Yeah, if you're signed, it's all going to be in your paperwork. You better read it all, because most record deals you're going to get are going to be sacrificing either the masters to your music, which means you don't own your music, or you're giving up royalties.
Well, I like that now. A lot of the bands now, again, Primus was a big band for me back in the day, but so they're not independent, but they were getting paid the whole time. You know, I got to talk to the guys from Everclear. If you're familiar with Everclear, early band broke out in the early '90s, and so they're 30 years in. They played up here at the Air Force Base show, and I was a sponsor. So I got to talk to them. Like, I was at y'all's record release party in New Orleans for the original album. And he's like, was it like at a Tiki Hut place? I'm like, yeah, the record store uptown, the Mushroom. And he's like, heck yeah. And he's like, you were the one. I'm like, you're not joking. He's like, and then one of the drummer was like, did you ride a mountain bike there? I'm like, yes. I'm like, he's like, there
awesome.
really were 3 people there, and they were already blowing up. And they're like, we re-recorded the album. I'm like, yeah, no, I bought it on Apple Music. He's like, you could have just streamed it. I'm like, dude, I went to your website when I saw y'all were coming. I figured you could use the $12. He's like, well, we get all the money now. He's like, it's our album. He's like, we're smarter now. And he goes, I'm like, what do y'all play when y'all go up? And he's like, what you think? I'm like, what? He's like, 18 hits and 2 other songs.
Yeah.
He's like, well, hopefully you'll buy an album to be nice, you know. He's like, Bret Michaels was there too. And I was just like, I'm not going to pretend to buy Bret Michaels from Poison's album. I did shake his hand. I'm like, you were the soundtrack of my high school, man. I appreciate it. And that was about it. But I was like, I'm not buying his stuff. But there's sometimes that's what I always tell people. Like, what's the easiest way to support you? Should I buy it? I have a couple friends. I met this guy, John Acuff, like 20 years ago. And John Acuff's a big, he had a blog forever that was called like What Christians Like. And it was playing fun off of guy, you know, short khaki shorts and tucked in blue polo shirts and stuff. And now he writes personal growth stuff. And he's big. He's probably $250,000 public speaker. Like he draws a crowd.
That's
but like,
not the guy. Is he bald or very little hair and he's got high pitched voice? No, I'm thinking of somebody else.
But John, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry. I don't think he'd listen to my podcast.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't.
But I get a book.
Bald,
I
John.
get a couple books every time he puts out a book. He'll write me a note or something like that. And you know, that's what he talks about is ownership of the whole thing. He's like, I don't need a booking agent.
I just like to say, if I had $500 million, I would be fine.
Yeah. That's all. It'd be a lot easier.
That's all we need.
Just to get by. Yeah, whatever you get, you'll want more, though.
Right.
Like, that's the hard part for musicians when they blow up and then they don't. How do you come back down from that?
Well, I think it's got to be, you know, what are your reasons for committing to it, right? Like, is it to garner wealth? If that's what it is, then yeah, you're never going to be satisfied. For me, I'm pretty sure that I would be content with breaking even if I could just make music every day, play music every day, and not have to work a survival job. You know, like, it's not that I feel like I'm above a survival job or that it's not quality work or whatever. It's just, I feel like the way I'm going to get my max utility on this earth is if I'm going to be making music as much as I can.
Yeah. Well, what does the functionality of that look long term? Because it's kind of hard to play solo in Columbus and Starkville.
I don't want to play solo. I'd love to have a band. It's just kind of hard to get the guys together in a place like Starkville. Though there are other musicians, I find that the more tenured ones, the ones that are, you know, real good, 9 times out of 10, they got a full-time job, wife and kids, and they just cannot go hit the road and play shows.
Yeah, because the touring bands are the guy who plays rhythm guitar for, not for Jason Isbell, but for the next Alabama Shakes or something like that. Because there's sometimes where you hear these bands and they're literally touring with different rhythm sections everywhere they go, you know, or playing state fairs and stuff. And it's not always about paying your dues because you never know when you get the break to meet the guy who's cousins with the guy who's brothers with the guy, and you play guitar right that day. Because I've seen it so much in New Orleans. Because again, I know Trombone Shorty, who's a big trumpet player, huge now. He's Troy. Like, we knew him from around, and Kermit Ruffins was another guy from Rebirth Brass Band. Where like people call them now to play for huge amounts of money. Like they, $10,000, like come play the show, but they have such trust in them that they're going to know everything. Right. So like so and so will be playing, at the Newport Jazz Festival, and they're already there, and they're like, well, you can come play with us, and it's not everything you see at those events is, hey, just come jam with us.
Right.
Like, a lot of it's like, I'll give you 10, 20 grand.
Right.
It's pretty, and that's what Trombone Shorty told me. He's like, I know, I kind of lost track of everybody there for like 5 years, and then at that point, he had gone from probably being a $4,000 booking to 10 or 11 Grammys and being on Jimmy Kimmel and opening Red Hot Chili Peppers. You know, he was opening for the Red Hot Chili Peppers and stuff, and and Mumford and Sons. And
what a lot of people don't realize about those Grammys and those awards in general, it's not just an achievement. It's not just a piece of hardware that's like, hey, I'm good at this. Yeah. It literally raises the price of your service. Every reward you get, it's that much more money every time someone hires you, and they have to pay you more because of it.
Kermit Ruffins is one I know the best. He's a world-class trumpet player, but he's more of a he wouldn't think of him as a studio trumpet player because he's just New Orleans stuff, but he got a Grammy, and Rebirth, who he used to be a member with, got a Grammy. And he even told me, I can come up there and play and cook barbecue and mess around with you for $2,000. He's like, but I can't take anybody with me for less than $8,000. I got a manager. And he's like, dude, I love you. He would come up. He's a friend, but he just can't. He can't. Yeah. Because you got other guys in your band who are on there, and the manager's like, you can't, because it's not just compromising your integrity.
There's a gentleman that the producer of the EP put me in touch with. His name's Matthew Maxwell, and another awesome guy, but he's got a lot of experience working for the PROs, which are the performing rights organizations. And his job specifically for a long time was working for artists to help find a way for them to make more money, which is I always found interesting. I'm like, so wait, the PRO hired you to take money away from them? I guess they had to or something, Yeah. But he actually got really passionate about it because his grandfather wrote music for Kool and the Gang.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm saying that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And he got done dirty, essentially. Didn't get a lot of money that he was owed, and it was, various reasons, paperwork issues, greedy people higher up. But that put a fire in him, and he's like, okay, this can't happen. So he got invested in that avenue, and so I've been hiring him to kind of advise and help curate a promotion plan for the EP. And one of the first things he said is, you can't play free anymore. You just can't. It's not a matter of you're above that. It's not a pride thing, a hubris thing. It's simply it takes away the value of your product. Yeah. When you play for free, that means or if you sign a contract and they're like, I'll give you $3,000 for 1% of your profits for the next 10 years. It's just a hypothetical. Let's say Atlantic Records oh, look at this cat, Patrick. I want to sign him. Well, let's look into what contracts he's in. $3,000. Oh, we were going to pay him a lot of money. We don't have to do that now. He's clearly not worth that.
Yeah.
So it's little finite things like that you have to start paying attention to. That was actually
the first app I became aware of on a phone, and it was before even Facebook had an app. Facebook you could do on desktop, and this was 2007. I was working in Oxford, Mississippi, and a guy who was leaving to work for us, and he went to go work for a company that was akin checking on ASCAP and BNI, and they had developed an app for his phone, and now they have it. They're collecting more and more money as time goes on, because what he used to do is intentionally go to bars and gas stations, record for an hour, and they'd find out if that bar or gas station was subscribed to Muzak. Yes. Or whatever, and then they'd say, hey, you can pay a $20,000 fine, you can sign up for 100, you have 60 seats, $180 a month. Yeah. Because, by the way, if you ever hear a commercial at a gas station, technically it's public, you're not supposed to be playing, you're supposed to have licensed music. That's how a lot of people get screwed out of music, Yeah. And that was his job. And I was like, well, that sucks. I'm like, you're looking at it from the restaurant's point of view. Yeah. And you're only thinking about Steely Dan and Aerosmith. You're not thinking about the kid with the new song that just came out. Or, yeah. Of course, 15 years ago, then the DJ was playing his friend's song or trying to give somebody a break. And you're like, that kid's getting screwed when the song blows up, because every gas station and bar in the United States, and honestly, most bar owners now don't even really know. I don't even know if not every place. Every time I know a musician, they make sure their owner knows, you're supposed to be paying for this.
Yes. So I've got all sorts of different services and, organizations, whatever, agencies that I've had to join and pay for, subscriptions to. And a lot of that was, Matthew was explaining to me, hey, you got to have Sound Exchange. You got to have a PRO. So I'm with BMI now. My little brother's actually my youngest brother, Sean, opened an LLC for Artigues Productions. And the three of us have been trying to get that going, and we actually used that LLC to to be the publisher, so I don't have to go through BMI as a publisher, if that makes any sense. And it's just, one more way to have more ownership and more control of your product.
Well, I don't like anything I've heard from him really other than catchy stuff, but Post Malone, who's playing in Oxford in a couple of years, like he had that White Iverson song that blew up with no promotion, like nothing. And like if you don't have your crap lined up when that happens,
right?
That's where all this is worth the time. Or like you don't know if Jeffrey Rupp or you just met for the second time or me is at an airport and stops a terrorist and becomes world famous and somebody Googles me and like you have no idea.
Absolutely.
And most of those stories aren't, even though, again, she's an incredible production and a good songwriter, but Taylor Swift's dad's a music executive, but again, that's what they would be saying about you. If you broke in the next month, some bitter person would be like, well, Colin introduced him to Jeffrey Rupp, and Chase McGill's a friend of his dad. Well, I've only met Chase one time, and like he's Colin's friend, and Jeffrey Rupp's daughter runs social media for Vince Gill. It's the only reason he got that song.
He's a nepo kid.
Yeah, and you'd be like, well, or like Braden, who's going out there, who has played with the other Colin, American Idol dude, and is out in California, and is going to. And we had you never know what's going to happen. So we had this Michael Francis, he's a mobster. He came and spoke for this Christian men's conference in town. I helped them promote it, and after I thought of the idea to help promote it, we started the podcast. I'm like, well, maybe this dude will be on my podcast, because he's got 1 million followers on his podcast, and he's a mobster, and like his PR guy said no. Then I was like, well, do you mind if I talk to him? He's like, if you drive him in the car, it's your funeral, And I talked to him, and he's like, by the end of the thing, he's like, man, I'd love to talk to you, man. And I asked him all kind of different questions he'd never been asked. Braden edited it, put it out, and then like he's telling me like this was in August. And so like the first week of January, he's coming here, he's like, hey man, I don't know if you saw on Instagram, I'm like, what? He's like, that guy's daughter started a podcast. And of course, it's going to be well-funded. Dad's helping with exposure. And he's like, they were looking for somebody to edit it.
There you go.
And he's like, I had already edited his. I sent him that, and that was it. That was the whole interview. Now he's in California. He's got a contact. They know other people in California. He's got like of all the juke joints and all the place. Like we were both all going into it, going, oh, it'll blow up our podcast. It'll help us, and then it just randomly helps this one little thing. So you never know that some dude from New York is going to be like, hey, somebody's looking for somebody who can sing gospel and rock, or you never know. Of all the people you meet, who you're going to stumble across. Again, like I've got friends who have Grammys, which still blows my mind.
Also, back to Post Malone before I forget, I recommend you listen to his Austin album.
Okay.
Because I wasn't, I like Post Malone enough, but I wasn't like a fan or anything. But when he released that album, I was like, oh, no, this is really good music.
And part of the problem is me. Part of it is definitely the judgment I had the first time, and probably the same thing with like Jelly Roll or something, where I'm like, it just, to me.
And Jelly Roll I'm not too high on for sure. I feel like he's kind of just, not that he's bad, I just don't think he's all that great. Like, I don't think he's worth getting the best new artist or, this, that, and a fourth.
Yeah, I just don't know. It's literally, I can at least admit my prejudices or whatever. Like, there's, sometimes I'm going to be like, whatever. And there's people I know, like the difference between, it's not even age, but like when late 1990s, early 2000s was the Hot Boys in New Orleans and Master P and all that stuff. And I was like a young old man. I'm like, I'm so proud guys from New Orleans are making big hits. And like, I really was. They're from New Orleans. Like, screw you. I love them. You know what I mean? And now like there's tons of mumble rappers out there. And I'm like, I just don't. I don't get it. This can't be that hard to do. Like, I'm sure there's some artistry to it and all that, but it's just not my, and it's sort of like I'm not that, I listen to some of the stuff that's come out since Red Dirt Road or the talk country stuff. And, but I don't know. A good example, I am dressing in drag for Hairspray the Musical. So I'm the main mom character.
Travolta.
I'm Edna Turnblad, yeah. And so I'm a little uncomfortable in the dress thing, but I had some friends right before COVID, went with my wife to a drag show in Starkville. And most of them.
Probably Dave's.
Yeah. And a large group of them were lesbians or whatever. And they're like, Colin, we're disappointed you didn't come. Like the next day, one of them said, like, I'm kind of disappointed I didn't see you there. But I'm like, well, let me stop you real quick. If Dave Matthews was playing at Dave's Dark Horse Tavern at 10:30 at night last night, probably going to pass.
Yeah.
And I was like, I haven't seen him in concert in 20 years, but I would, I might go.
Right.
And I'm like, so I'm not going for something like I'm not Rosa Parks. I'm not like, I'm not against it. I'm just not going anywhere at night I was like, now you bring over Jason Isbell or somebody, I'll go listen to him. But I have a small window of stuff I like, and sometimes it's hard to get new people in that window.
Fair enough.
There's random people that my kids think are crazy. There's this West Coast hip hop guy named Prof, he'd be a good example for you of social media. Like he was, who had him on? Two Bears, One Cave, not Burt Kreischer, the other guy. You know who I'm talking about.
Is that Shane Gillis maybe? Or
it's one of those guys.
Segura.
Yeah, Segura had him on like for a 2-minute interview on something or whatever, and I saw that and I'm like, by the way, great social media stuff. And then like I'll listen to his stuff, and that's just kind of modern fun hip hop or whatever. But that's the only person on my feed is that, and then it's all early 1990s music that I've listened to 6 billion times. Mm-hmm. So there's not too much new stuff on there.
Fair enough.
I don't know. I've got some stuff from interviewing people here.
I could give you a good list.
Mason Honnell, and then of course Ryan Munson's turned me on to some stuff. Just seeing him share things. Have you played at Munson Brothers at all? Or no?
I have not. I'd love to.
Yeah, they have a decent amount of shows. So, and he pays people because he believes that's a tenet of doing it. You know? So.
I think probably the biggest, most popular indie band that's touring right now would be Big Thief. I don't know if you've heard of them.
I don't know. Who won the 2 Grammys last night for Birds? That song. No, hold on. That's an incredible rendition of that. I will look it up while you tell me more about that band.
It doesn't sound like something they would do, but they're a really cool band, especially some of the bands you've mentioned. I feel like you would appreciate their sound. It's got a good kind of blend of the modern sound with kind of just a classic rock kind of feel, but very good songwriters. And they're also like touring fanatics. Like they've been on the road for like a dozen years or something like that while recording albums and stuff.
That was the big thing when I was younger. Of course, like you didn't have the internet and stuff. So like if a band didn't come around, you had no, you listen to MTV or some college radio stations, but you wouldn't know who they were unless you read about them in a magazine, Mm-hmm. Best example I have of that was everybody in my group in 1991 was trying to see DRI, which is Dirty Rotten Imbeciles. They were a skateboard punk band. And the 2 opening bands were Pearl Jam was the first band and Red Hot Chili Peppers were the second. Huh. And like in hindsight, that's the greatest single ticket you could ever have. Yeah. And the only reason I went to the show is because my dad knew the producer for Dr. John, and Dr. John helped Red Hot Chili Peppers produced their first album. So that's the only reason I went. I'm like, if Dr. John says they're cool, And then like in hindsight, that ticket stubs like blows your mind. Yeah. And then like, but nobody remembers Pearl Jam. Nobody who was there remembers Pearl Jam was there. Nobody. Even 2 years later, I was like, y'all had no idea. And like 10 wasn't even out. Like that's how, like, it wasn't even out. And I did have a friend who, like, Rage Against the Machine, before their first album came out, he's like, this band's playing in Atlanta. I heard their album's going to come out and they're going to be in Lollapalooza. And, like, I don't know where he read that. We drove to Atlanta to see Rage Against. Same thing. The show was amazing, but when you don't know the songs, it's dink, dink, dink. Right. And, like, so I can brag that I went to that show before they were anything, but I'm also like, I didn't know the
Fair
words,
enough.
Like,
that doesn't matter so much, though. Was it the Baltimore band Turnstile?
Yes.
Turnstile. Yeah, I actually have heard Turnstile.
I've heard that song, but their social media is amazing. Like they play like every time they do finish like 3 or 4 shows, they play footage of the shows and backstage and stuff, but it's literally like a voicemail, people calling their number and saying how awesome the show was, or hey man, thanks for coming to Baltimore or whatever. And it'll be like some girl like, I went to the show when y'all played Birds, it was awesome, like thank you for coming, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's great marketing. Like I think that's incredible.
I'm pretty sure they got
and they let
their
people
big
on
break
stage
by thouring with Blink-182.
There you go. Oh, yeah. They're coming. I only knew the song, that Bird song, and I saw the video where the kids come up on stage, and it's catchy too. But like I'm also like, then I listen to their other stuff. That was enough for me. It's sort of like how Burt Kreischer as a comedian blew up, was from one Instagram boosted Facebook post about the Russian mafia story.
Right.
And that's it. And I listened to that thing like 20 times. I'm like, like talk about it's not a one trick pony, but that was it.
Yeah.
So well placed social media. Somebody locally who's doing there is Olin Yoders from Yoder Sausage. You will probably see an ad in your thing now that your phone heard me. He's based down there in Mennonite country, and he sells sausage and sausage sticks and cheeses and stuff, and he's got paid ads on social media locally, and I think it's around the country. I don't know, but it's blowing up. Like I see it constantly, but I think it's because I'm his friend. And then I asked somebody else who's not on social media, and they're like, I saw it on Google.
Yeah.
I'm like, so they're spending some money. You don't know if it profits or not. But again, you don't know. For music, I don't know if that works as much as the music as the personality,
Well, I've actually found that AI actually has helped with that in particular. Like I recently was like, I wonder what happens when I Google myself. If you Google my name, there's a whole AI overview, and it has like a freakish amount of information about me. And I'm like, how in the hell did it
I know
this?
how it is for me because I'm intentionally trying to do that. Now, the weird part for me, like, if you look for Colin Krieger, you're going to find me. There's 2 Colin Kriegers in Canada. There's a Colin Krieger in North Carolina. That's about it.
Same for me.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of people. And that's a blessing, but not everybody knows. I want the people who are looking for indie rock, indie southern rock to find you, or I want people for best realtor and whatever to find you.
Right.
So, like, I don't like that all the time. Like, in our podcast and description, I'll be like, top realtor, Starkville. But you got to... I want people there, so hopefully they'll use a house for me so I can afford to have a podcast and have more guests and get my phone fixed, apparently.
Yes. Also, anyone listening, don't forget to vote for the Starkville Daily News Best of 2026. Although, I don't know if this will air before voting ends.
It will. I just saw the voting just started, so I'll get
it
it
started
out
last week,
Okay, it's usually for a month or something. Are you up for something there?
Best musician, yes.
Are you the best bartender, or you didn't make the cut?
I didn't bother with that one, honestly. It's like, you know what,
It's a lot of pressure if you win best bartender. You got to start doing flippity flips and stuff.
Well, it's more so that I don't want to be a bartender for too long. I don't mind bartending. It's I love my coworkers. It's a great job, and I'm grateful for it. But I would love sooner than later to be able to shed that role and be able to just make music.
So, what are you up for again?
Best musician, best local musician, Starkville.
Is Jeffrey Rupp up for that?
He is as well. Yeah.
Please vote against Jeffrey Rupp. Yeah. No, we can. I'll lobby for you. Remind me that if you're on. Are you on Facebook at all? Or
I
just,
am,
okay,
yes.
Yeah, there's a large group of people under 35 who've given up on Facebook, but for some reason are okay with Instagram. I'm like, it's the same company.
Well, I think there's just less. Let's say Facebook got popular before it, so there's more people that aren't alive with profiles on Facebook.
Yeah, and Instagram also, I think there's more digestion but less interaction. You know what I mean? People, you're looking at the pictures, like I don't even see comments sometime on my stuff, and I'm like, oh, I should have. Whereas Facebook, I feel like I have to respond to a lot of the comments. But I'm a realtor, so like the average person who wants to know about community events, construction, new businesses, and who's buying a house is right now, unfortunately, in their 50s and 60s.
Yeah, and they're not going to be on Instagram.
And so, like, I'm on other stuff, but, like, that's probably the main priority. I'm starting to do more stuff on YouTube, but, again, YouTube is more national and regional impact. So, I didn't start this to be like Joe Rogan. I started this to have more documentation of local people and local interests and stuff. And that way, when people do look you up, then there's a reference, and then they may connect with me or something like that. So
I found each different social media outlet has like a different kind of feel or energy from the consumers. Facebook, it's typically a bunch of family and supportive people on there. TikTok, a lot of young, very positive, encouraging people. I was really surprised by that. Maybe a lot of them aren't real accounts, but nevertheless, it's a lot of positive feedback. Instagram is like the dark side of social media. You post something on there and you're like, crucify me, go.
Yeah.
Anyone and their mom's like, I've got an opinion and it's not going to be nice. Let me tell you about it.
Yeah, and Twitter sometimes. I use Twitter for sports and stuff like that, and especially reconnects me with a lot of people from New Orleans. Like it's a lot of, and it's Twitter's just, or X or whatever you want to call it. Twitter's just vicious.
Yeah.
And so there's don't go there to have fun.
Yeah.
Like, again, TikTok's got that. I more digest stuff on TikTok, and people all the time are like, you're funny and personal. You should be on TikTok. I'm like, it's not that I can't find value in it. I'd be great at it, but I don't know how that translates locally. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so it's just, I got enough stuff going on, so I'm all right.
I actually see a lot of local stuff on TikTok, surprisingly. Like random people pop up, we're reviewing the 76 gas station sandwiches. Like I see stuff like that all the time on TikTok.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 people in Mississippi who are really big on that. And like I said, when we do stuff, we just do this restaurant's great, good for y'all for opening, and they could be, we've had a couple we've skipped. And I'm like, somebody asked me, like, I saw your brother taking pictures and filming at so-and-so, but where's the story? I'm like,
You don't want this.
You have to be bad for the people who make positivity louder. That's how bad it. Like you have to be rude to us, argue with us, and like have bad food. And then it's only happened like twice where we're like, this is just we can't send anybody here. So, and I'm just proud of people for trying.
Absolutely.
Like good for you for trying. So the Starkville Daily News thing. Yeah, I think this will get up before then. Otherwise, I'll just lobby on the Facebook for you against. Jeffrey Rupp, I'm not sure. We didn't cover it on the previous podcast. I'm just told he does not like puppy dogs.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I'm just saying. Just saying what I hear. Not throwing him under the bus. But he's mayor, for God's sakes. He already won a popularity contest. Leave some crumbs for the other guys.
That's right.
If they want to book you, find you online, or call you to come do a show at their house or something, how do they get to you?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, me and my little brother's artigues.com. You can find me on all social media platforms, Patrick Artigues.
Spell that last name for the kids at home.
That's Patrick, Artigues. And you can reach out to any of those accounts and you'll get to me.
There you go. Well, yeah, and that's the blessing of having a unique name is you have a unique name. You got to spell it to people. The worst part is I've owned ColinKrieger.com for over 20 years, and it's useless because nobody can spell my name. And I'll be like, it's me at ColinKrieger.com, and they're like, no. I'm like, okay, well.
I before E or E before I?
Yeah, I'm like, just marketmississippi@gmail.com is my email. Main reason I got that was because people can't spell my name, but, if you're looking for me or looking for you, we're easy to find. So.
Right.
All right, well, good deal. When's the next gig? Do you have a gig coming up in a couple of weeks or a big show coming up?
I do have a gig in 6 days on the 10th of February. It's going to be at Rick's. It's going to start, I believe, at 6 p.m. Not entirely sure. But you can find that information on Rick's website as well as my social media platforms as well. And that is also the same day that my next single will be released, Hold My Hand.
All right. We'll definitely have the single on right here.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. It's been awesome.
Hey, guys. Thanks for listening to the podcast. My name is Colin Krieger, and my day job is real estate. If you're looking to buy or sell, I'd love to talk to you. Or if you just want to sit and talk real estate in a no-pressure situation, I'd love to help you. I work with RE/MAX Partners in Starkville, Columbus, and West Point, Mississippi. I can help you find an agent anywhere in Mississippi or anywhere in the country. Just reach out to our office at 662-327-7705 or find me anywhere when you type in 662-329-SOLD.